So when I was 19, I was living in Lubbock, Texas, and I moved from Lubbock, Texas to Nashville, Tennessee. Now, this was no ordinary move. I was moving to transfer to Belmont University to study music business. This move took a lot of convincing for my parents, and after several low-down and dirty discussions, we made it possible. I'll tell the full story in some other sermon. Now, moving to Nashville was a leap of faith. I had actually never been to Nashville, Tennessee. I had never visited Belmont University. I didn't know a soul. But I knew with every ounce of my body that that is where I was called to be. So the time comes for the big move. And my dad, whom you guys actually might meet next week, my dad helps me caravan all of my belongings from Lubbock, Texas to Nashville. And we arrive in Nashville at about 9 a.m. on Sunday morning. Okay? We decided to get some breakfast at a local restaurant. And I should also say that my dad is going to drop me off in Nashville, Tennessee after breakfast. He's just going to leave me there, and he's going to go on to visit family in upstate New York. And so we are sitting at this restaurant, and I'm looking around, and everyone in there has clearly just gotten off of work in some capacity. You know, all the good people are at church. So I'm trying to stress upon you that there's just a variety of people sitting in this restaurant, that people that I had never really seen before, and they looked very different, and they clearly were in a different line of work than what I was ever used to. Do y'all get where I'm going with this? Okay. Needless to say, there was an interesting group of God's children there. And in the back of my mind, I am thinking to myself, oh my God, my dad is going to leave me in this strange city by myself in about an hour. No words were exchanged, but perhaps my dad could see the fear on my face. And he says the following comforting words that only a father can. Well, you're the one that wanted to come here. My response was, of course, oh, I know, I'm good, this is great. I'm eating my pancakes, we're good. I didn't want my dad to know how terrified that I was. My first week in Nashville was one of the hardest ever. I wanted to be anywhere other than the very place that God had called me to be. Now, while I did not feel terrified moving to Richmond, Virginia this week, regardless of your age and your circumstances, change is difficult and can be overwhelming. And it is from this place of change and overwhelmingness that I want us to enter the story for today. Mary, who we are told is a virgin and engaged to Joseph, has just been told by the angel Gabriel that she will conceive and give birth to a son. Now, on any ordinary day that one finds out that they are pregnant, it is big news. Whether it's expected or welcomed or even a Holy Spirit's surprise. It is exciting and enthralling. It is stressful. It is overwhelming. It means that your life is going to change dramatically. And then add to that caveat that you have just been told that you are pregnant by an angel when you have yet to be intimate with your betrothed, and your kid's going to be the Son of God. That's a lot to deal with. That's a lot of change and a lot of challenge. Even in this time and place of the 21st century, having a baby at such a young age and out of wedlock comes with a certain amount of judgment. But in Mary's time, it was a potential death sentence. We are not told why Mary goes to see Elizabeth. As an unwed, scared, pregnant teen wondering how this news will be received, I imagine Mary goes to see Elizabeth to seek sanctuary and a much-needed confidant. And as soon as Elizabeth hears Mary's greeting, something extraordinary happens. Elizabeth, who is 6 months pregnant herself, is filled with the Holy Spirit as the baby in her womb leaps. It is in this moment that Elizabeth knows exactly the news that Mary has yet to tell her. And she bestows upon Mary a blessing. Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the child that you bear. Elizabeth overturns all social expectations when she greets Mary in this way. The truth is, Mary might expect to be ostracized and shamed. I mean, what will the neighborhood association think when Elizabeth welcomes her relative after such questionable behavior? Elizabeth has a reputation to protect. But perhaps Elizabeth doesn't do this because she knows from her own experience the pain of such exclusion. In her culture, a woman's primary purpose in life is to bear children. And until recently, Elizabeth has spent a lifetime as a barren wife and has been treated as a failure. Mary's pregnancy could have brought her shame. But because of Elizabeth's kindness and compassion and radical hospitality, it brings Mary joy and honor. Further, it sets the stage for the social and religious reversal of the new and beloved community that Jesus is going to usher in. By welcoming Mary, Elizabeth practices the same kind of inclusive love that Jesus shows prostitutes and sinners and tax collectors and the lame. She sees beyond the shamefulness of Mary's situation to the reality of God's love and work even among those whom society rejects and excludes. This story, in Elizabeth's words and actions, invite us to reflect on our own openness as individuals and as a church to the ways that God chooses to act in our world. What is God doing through unexpected people in our community today? Where is God at work through people whom our neighbors and fellow church members often exclude or treat as shameful? Will we listen to the Spirit's prompting when the bearers of God's new reality show up at our doorstep? I would like to think yes. Yes. After all, we are a people of faith who are walking in the ways of Jesus. But I also hope for yes, because this congregation has adopted a number of we statements. We recognize the richness of human experience and varied approaches to the faithful life. We encourage, challenge, and support one another to discover, live, and be transformed by Christian faith. We set an open communion table each week, welcoming all who desire to respond to Christ's invitation to the table of grace and mercy. We engage our community and world through a lived faith that responds to the needs of our environment and all living things with compassion and the potentials of restorative justice and peace and hope. These statements, these we statements, are a reminder to us, 7th Street Christian Church, of how we will greet anyone who comes through these doors and how we will act in the world. These we statements inform our community, that we are always willing to see the possibilities of God's immense vastness and strive to respond with yes. Like Elizabeth and Mary, I believe that 7th Street Christian Church is pregnant with great things. I believe that we are at an Advent. But Advent isn't just about birth and arriving. It is about preparing. And we have work to do. I want you, and this is not rhetorical, to look around this sanctuary. I want you to take a look at all of these people that you know and love. Go ahead, not rhetorical. Turn your heads, look around. Take a look at each other. And your beauty and your weirdness and your awesomeness. Can you see the face of God? Do you see the face of God? And now I want you to look at all the empty spaces. Take a look. You don't have to look far. And the months and in the years ahead, these spaces will be filled with new faces. And they're probably not going to look like you. And they too will be the face of God. They won't think or act like you, but they are the face of God. They might be artists and musicians, they may be covered in tattoos, and they too are the face of God. They could be students or factory workers. Their native tongue may not be English. They may not have citizenship or even the right documents to be in this country, and they too are the face of God. They may be gay or transgendered. They might be a person of color, and they too are the face of God. They might be unwed and pregnant. They might be searching and questioning, and they too are the face of God. How much discomfort are we willing to endure? Are we willing to risk our reputation? How much change are we willing to accept? How far are we willing to stretch ourselves in order for God's love to be known? May we stand by these we statements. May we stand by our yes to follow in the ways of Jesus. Let us keep practicing the same radical, welcoming hospitality that you have each shown me this week, and that Elizabeth shows Mary, and that Jesus shows each of us. Let it be so.